to this very special, I was going to say Let's Play. That doesn't really work. This very special episode of Geek News, Reviews, and Opinions, where we aren't meeting together on a hangout. We're actually here. We're in the flesh, so to speak.
We can actually poke each other.
Poke.
No.
No, we just actually barely got out of a movie, and we wanted to be able to do a review for it, as well as be able to cover some of the stories that are going to happen this week. This is actually going to be the episode for this weekend, so if you guys don't already know that from aside from the 6 bajillion announcements that I made on the channel saying that we were getting together and not doing an episode at 10 o'clock, well, then here you go. So at that point, we'll go ahead and get into the stories, but first of all, I have to introduce my panel. So unfortunately, we are actually missing one. Aldo Gomez got pulled in last minute with work, and so at that point, it was unavoidable. He was hoping to be able to be here, but it just didn't work out that way. We actually had to bend over backwards just to try and get everybody here that wanted to be here for this review. So unfortunately, Aldo couldn't make it. Nothing against him on that. We hope to bring him in the next one, and you guys can let his Twitter know on, is it at Aldo531?
No, I think he changed it to Board Thresh.
Board Thresh. You guys can let him know at Board Thresh how you feel about that, and that you hope to see him for the next review. But we wanted to address that right here, right now. And let me go ahead and introduce my beloved panel of fellow YouTubers, not fellow podcasters, because you guys don't have your own podcasts.
Yet.
Yet.
Yeah, I guess yet.
Fellow YouTubers, fellow critics, fellow Let's Players. First of all, let's just go down the line. Brinton Volley, welcome back. Welcome to the insanity of a live group review.
I'm actually kind of excited, and I know you're all probably thinking right now, oh, how innocent you are. And that was a pleasant distraction. But
yeah, for those of you who couldn't see, the waitress at the Denny's that have been so gracious to let us use their private room came in to check on us. So.
I know.
Well, I was worried about the plug, but thank you, Romney. You did the plug for me.
Doing it live.
Such a sweetheart she is. But yeah, I'm excited, and by the end of this, I'll be like, yeah, I got myself into it.
Yes. So the next one down the line, we're happy to have you here, Brinton.
Thank you.
Thankfully, you will not leave with your sanity intact.
No, there's none left.
Yeah,
anyway,
that's implying you ever had it to begin with.
This is true. He would not be a candidate for Geek News if he had sanity. Alex the Shadow Blazer. This has been an interesting day for you because you're kind of the one who's like the most strapped for time, but you were actually one of the first people to suggest the review that we're going to do tonight. You and Aldo kind of banded together, which is why it makes me feel sad that Aldo isn't here.
Yeah.
But how are you doing, and are you looking forward to the stories that we have?
All things considered, doing well, and great night. We had a great movie to go see. We're going to talk all about it, and we got a few stories to mention, which will probably get us into some shouting modes, but we'll have to calm our tempers, I guess.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Stephen Romney of Romney's Reviews, of From the Shelf, of Studio Ghost, Utah. How are you doing this fine evening?
I'm doing pretty good. I mean, it was a busy day between job interviews and viewing 2 movies back to back. I'd say things are pretty good.
Yep. People have a lot of material to go watch on Romney's channel as soon as he can sit down and actually get the footage going for it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go ahead and get into the stories that we have. Basically, like I said, this is going to be a very light podcast. We don't have like a full-on agenda, and the main reason we don't is because we wanted to get together to review a limited release that came out to a local theater of ours in Mamoru Hosoda's Boy and the Beast. We were able to get into a limited theater to be able to see it together. So we wanted to make this as light as possible so that we could devote that time to the review, because we like doing that for you guys. So let's go ahead and get into the first story, which is going to be the text story here. And it's obviously in our wheelhouse because it's Nintendo talk. Woo!
Yeah, we need like a little jingle here. The whole like
We really do. I really need to make a jingle. You know what, Feature Adam? Make one.
Yeah,
Make one.
You can be like the.
Oh, and by the way, I am your host, Adam Mickelson. I didn't introduce myself. I don't know why. Mainly because I'm the man with no name. Zach Brannigan at your service.
Hello.
So,
Love that show.
So let's go ahead and get into it. So yeah, we had a Nintendo Direct happen. First of all, we have one piece of news to clarify from last week because our compatriot Aldo Gomez confirmed this for us. Mainly, and I think he actually complained to me about this. He's like, "Am I the only one that watched the Nintendo Direct for this?" And you probably were.
Yeah.
At least from minute 1 to minute end. And that is that Pokemon Sun and Moon is in fact confirmed. It is Generation 7. So now you actually, Alex, you found some other interesting information because I think around the time Aldo confirmed that it was Gen 7, Gaijin Goomba had put out a video saying he thought that it was that Sun and Moon was going to be heavily Japan inspired. Mm-hmm. And you actually found a story basically saying it might actually be Hawaii inspired.
Yeah, not so much a story, but a lot of fan speculation going around based on observations of the material we've seen so far from what Nintendo and Game Freak have put out. So many are speculating, rather than a Japanese theme necessarily, this could be very well a Hawaiian theme. Who knows, maybe even more deeper into that, maybe even a more South Pacific Polynesia theme.
Well, yeah, because there's even a bit of a middle ground, because one theory I put up kind of before we started recording is that it could even be based off a place like Okinawa, which tends to be very similar to Hawaii. I mean, it's part of Japan, it's under control of Japan, but it's kind of the equivalent of when an American goes to Hawaii for when a Japanese person goes to Okinawa. They have a different culture. Yeah, there's some bleed over, but they have a very unique culture, and so it could even be an amalgamation, like Alex said, of various South Pacific islands, places like Hawaii, places like Okinawa.
Yeah, and here's the thing too. Here's the beloved concept. You all might be right, because we don't know enough about Sun and Moon yet to be able to say that. I look forward to some of the news that we are going to get, obviously, from E3, and I don't know. Nintendo Direct has been happening a lot more frequently than I thought they would this year, so maybe we will actually get another Pokemon-devoted one, and we'll get even more information. So, back to the Nintendo Direct. Now, I am going to limit the information that we're going to talk about, because a lot of it was Japan-specific. And so at that point, I'm going to skip over that stuff. For all the fans that there are of the limited edition Super Famicom, Nintendo 3DS, sorry, we're not going to be talking about that because it's not coming here. So It's not like we can do anything about it. So, this is as good a place as any to start. So Game Freak came out and actually is developing yet another title that is not Pokemon. So last year, people will remember they teamed up with Sega to do Tembo the Badass Elephant. And have you ever played that, by the way?
I've heard of it. I haven't had a chance to
You should.
dip my feet into it.
You should.
Yeah, Drak and I got a little chance to play it, sample it live for his channel as a live stream. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, it really was. I'm actually tempted to do a live stream of it just to finish it because it was that interesting to me.
I'll have to give it a look.
But Game Freak is back in the news because they've developed yet another IP. This one is not Pokemon related at all. In fact, it's a weird one because it's called Pocket Card Jockey. And it's basically horse racing meets solitaire.
Very interesting combination.
So I'm guessing this is their answer to Donald Rumsfeld's solitaire game?
I guess so. I'm not going to rule this game out as being a bad idea because it looks good. Like the concept art that I have seen for this looks cute, looks fanciful, but at the same time it's like, but I have solitaire on my Windows. Why would I want to play
spend $40 to play it, essentially.
I already spent like $120 or whatever for Windows. So at that point, we did get this announcement. There really isn't a whole lot to go on about it. It is coming out to the Nintendo 3DS in May. I probably will get my hands on this just to try it out, but it essentially is horse racing meets solitaire.
Yeah, like during the horse race is when you actually play the game of solitaire, and as you make matches and complete the game of solitaire, it allows you to use it as boosts or power-ups for your horse just so that you can continually have it learn and grow and win matches and etc.
Yep.
So it's I guess simple. I'm using that word very loosely because I could see it randomly becoming like super complicated somehow, and then I'll just be like, this is just solitaire. Why?
Well, then again, people have made a dating sim that uses Bejeweled, so anything's possible.
Oh lordy.
Don't remind me of that one. People still ask for a Let's Play of it.
What is it?
My wife.
Honey Pot.
Honey Pot.
Oh, no, I don't. I've watched like Markiplier and them all play it, and I'm just like, you all ruined it for me because you all are like a little bit more perverted than I am.
Yeah, I've only
That's
seen
the problem you had.
I've only seen the
That
Renegade.
and the game.
I've only seen the Renegade for Life playthrough of it, and I think that's all I really need. But point being, it seems to be just a trend with game design where they take something like dating or horse racing and then combine it with a simple puzzle game. In the case of this new thing, Solitaire. In the case of Honey Pop, Bejeweled, or Candy Crush, or whatever the hell it's called this week.
For the most part,
Y.
So the next piece of news that we have is something that's relevant to me and Aldo and to Romney. And again, makes me feel bad that Aldo isn't here to talk about it. And that is Bravely Second, End Lair. So it looks like a demo is going to be launching on March 10th so that people can start playing that game, which I have a feeling like me and Aldo, a lot of people are going to be like racing to the finish in Bravely Default to be done before End Lair comes out.
Well, I'm probably the only one here that's actually beaten Bravely Default. So
I'm close. I know that much, but like I had a lot of fun just messing around in it.
To be fair, there's 2 endings in Bravely Default, so that's the other thing you got to consider.
Yes. So at that point, we also will have the actual game launching April 15th. We are going to get a physical version, although the demo will be on the eShop only. And there is a collector's edition, so people can look forward to that. I don't know about you, Romney. I'm excited about
I'm pretty excited, too. I really enjoyed Bravely Default. I mean, it was probably one of the most solid JRPGs I've played on a handheld in a long time.
And a wonderful new property from Square Enix.
Mm-hmm. And so I'm assuming that the demo is going to do similarly to what the Bravely Default demo did, where you play through the demo, and if you have the save data on your system, you then unlock stuff in the full game whether you get it digitally or the physical version where you play through the demo and then you get certain perks. I'm assuming that they're kind of replicating that success, because that's what got a lot of people to try Bravely Default, and thus why it did so well.
Yeah, why I couldn't actually take advantage of those perks, because Aldo was actually the one that recommended it to me. And in fact, I'm going, in the same vein of Aldo, I'm going to recommend these 2 yahoos play it, because it is simplistic enough that I think anybody can get into it and enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're
I'm
a fan
talking the original Bravely Default, not second, because I don't know how, if the story's going to continue from there.
It is a little bit. I mean, based on the teaser you see, you can unlock it through a cheat code, but there is a bit of a teaser for the second game you see in Bravely Default. And so it is a continuation. You do see characters from Bravely Default reappear in this one, especially after certain revelations you see after getting the true ending of Bravely Default. There's certain revelations you learn after getting the true ending that directly lead into the events of Bravely Second End Lair.
I will say this at least, though. I recommend that you both buy it. Don't buy the DLC outfits for the girls. Just don't.
And avoid the microtransactions. I'm talking about those SP things. That was a load of BS.
Yes.
I always try to avoid microtransactions. I'm just like...
And
So
believe me...
You don't play Assassin's Creed? No, I'm kidding.
And believe me, the game... I mean, I caved after a while and did pay for the extra sleep points because, I mean, you only get 1 sleep point after having your system closed for 8 hours.
Yeah.
It's a bit ridiculous. And it's very much a game-breaking thing, but that's how they get you.
Yep. So, unfortunately, there isn't a whole lot that we can add to this, but we've covered it, and I'm happy about it. The next one is Kirby Planet Robobot, which is going to be launching this June. This one, I actually didn't find out via Nintendo Direct. A listener recommended this to me because they know I'm a huge mecha fan, and apparently this is Kirby in a giant mech suit.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Can't say I can avoid this now.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've got the mecha fan, you've got the Kirby fan.
I'm not the biggest Kirby fan, but you know what? I for nostalgic reasons, I will go back to Kirby occasionally. So we have that. We have a release date for it, which is in June
10th,
June
believe.
10th for the 3DS. Already, that's kind of a disappointment just because I love handheld games, but again, I just don't want to deal with a nice big crick in my neck that's going to happen with these kinds of games.
That's why I usually play them lying down.
Yeah,
I can't do that either, because like then your arms get tired.
You could lay, flat.
I can't do that
I usually
anymore.
just have it like really close to my face, which is probably why my eyesight is shit.
The thing is, I vary up positions. I never really hold just one position. I always switch it up for that reason, to not get the crick in my neck. I always take the breaks to stretch. And oftentimes, I'm usually having to close my system to deal with something anyway. That's why it takes me like 3 days to get through a chapter in Fire Emblem, so...
Yeah, so, I mean, there isn't a whole lot known about this title, aside from, I guess it's in the same vein as the... it's either in the Return to Dreamland vein, or a lot of people have also mentioned to me that it's in the same vein as Epic Yarn and the Rainbow Clay that they came out with.
Rainbow Curse and / Canvas Curse.
So at that point, on June 10th, we'll find out what this game is more about.
Mm-hmm.
The next game here... So Drak has to eat a little bit of crow. People might remember a couple of weeks ago, like in January, I made a statement about Metroid Prime Federation Force that Romney had to kind of step up on me about, and you weren't the only one, because since then I've been getting comments about, you are such a patron, or you're such a defender of Other M, it's so completely double standard of you to call this a kiddie Metroid, and all that. So I have to eat a little bit of crow because, yes, while the videos and the demos that we were seeing at E3 looked like that, well, the Nintendo Direct demo that we actually got to see of Federation Force hooked me. It actually kind of sold it for me better than the E3 showing did. Especially in the fact, and here's the thing, I'm not a Prime fan. I played the Prime games, and I'm not against them, but if you were to give me a choice between Prime and Other M, I'd take Other M or Super Metroid or anything like that. And so I can at least say I'm going to pick this up. This looks a lot better than the last attempt at doing a Prime game on a handheld, which was Hunters. Mm-hmm. So I'm at least excited about this. I'm going to let Romney speak on this because I had to eat the crow.
Well, actually, I haven't seen the footage. I didn't watch the Nintendo Direct, so... And as for Metroid, I'm not as big of a... I'm not the biggest Metroid fan that I know because, again, I'm one of the fans of the old school side-scroller Metroids. I've never played Prime. Prime's just never really interested me. I know that's going to get me a lot of flack, but I'm sorry, I prefer the 2D Metroids. I prefer the 2D side-scrolling exploration because that's just easier for me to handle because I'm not a big fan of first-person shooters. And so that's why I've never really played Prime because they've just never interested me. My favorite Metroid game out of all the ones I played has been Fusion. Especially, I'm sorry, I when I first played it, I had nightmares about SAX. That first reveal, that legit gave me nightmares.
Yes.
And that's why it's kind of one of my favorites, because it has those impactful moments, especially when you hear But yeah, Fusion's my favorite. I'm a fan of the old school stuff, and my thing is, I liked the gameplay of Other M. It was the story I had a problem with.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing that the people gave me crap about was that, especially with last week, was it last week when we talked about Ronda Rousey?
Oh yeah,
the Metroid movie.
Don't even get me started on that again.
people got mad because I appeared to have gotten angry about the fact that, when I was saying that the Metroid universe needs a little bit more fleshing out, and yet this is what this game is trying to do. Because Federation Force doesn't follow Samus. It follows the Federation and their attempts to be able to curb the space pirate problems. So at that point, this is fleshing out the universe. So I will at least say that, yeah, it's got my interest, and yes, it is doing that. And yeah, I get to eat crow for the next little bit. So I can already tell you that I believe this thing comes out in June as well.
I think so too.
I don't have a release date on it right here, but yeah.
Oh, wait, I think it said something on your little... Oh, no, I'm reading the wrong date. Never mind, we don't know. Go watch Nintendo Direct.
I believe it's like June 14th is the last date that I read on the matter. So I've already got Metroid Prime Federation Force up on my review chopping block, so to speak, and we'll see if it pans out. The next thing that we have to talk about is a big one, and that is Star Fox. So a lot of Star Fox announcements happened. We got to see our first kind of take on Star Fox Zero and how it's going to look, how it's going to play. We also found out about the amiibo functionality for it, which is if you get I think it's the Smash Brothers Fox amiibo that there is out already.
Yeah.
If you play that with Star Fox Zero, you will get the retro R-Wing, the SNES R-Wing, complete with shooting graphics and all of that as an added feature. And So apparently Nintendo kept this from us, but we're going to get another Star Fox game on exactly the same day. And that is Star Fox Guard. Not a whole lot is known, at least for the moment, on all the details, but we know at least this much, that it is going to be following Slippy's uncle, Grippy. I'm just going to let people make jokes. I'm going to let people make jokes right now.
I'm tempted, but I probably shouldn't.
So apparently this is a project previously known as Project Guard. I don't think we actually know the genre, or actually no, we do. So Project Guard tasked players with monitoring and protecting an outpost by using a series of surveillance cameras.
Oh my god.
Five Nights at Grippy's.
Yep, that is Star Fox Guard.
Well, now we have to try it now, don't we, Alex?
And so it's just so from what it sounds like, basically a combination of Five Nights at Freddy's, probably with what I assume to be like a tower defense game. Almost.
Yeah, it's going to be a tower defense game. Roughly.
Yeah, that was when I was watching the footage in the Nintendo Direct, and as they were explaining everything to me, that's literally what came to my mind, like a Five Nights at Freddy's crossover with tower defense on the Wii U, but Star Fox. And I was like, yeah, okay, that it sounded interesting to me at least. I know that they're doing they've already announced they are going to do a bundle of both Star Fox Zero and Guard.
Yes, there's going to be a bundle, and you can get them separately.
Yeah, so I mean, it sounds interesting to me, but I mean, I will cross that bridge when the day comes.
I actually really wish we had Aldo, because then at that point we can get into the amiibo functionality. Because I looked at this and thought it was interesting. Does it make me want to go out and buy an amiibo? Probably not. But I like the fact that they accommodated that aspect, where you could get a retro R-Wing and all of your wingmen actually have the exact same ones. And we're talking like the old triangle ones, people. We're talking Star Fox on the SNES. So aside from that, is there anything else we want to add to Star Fox Zero? I'm excited for this game. I'm looking forward to it in April. What about you, Brinson?
I when I was a kid, and I would play old school Mario Kart on Nintendo 64. That was my way of getting introduced to Star Fox, because then they would pop it in and I would watch them and etc. etc. But I never had a Nintendo 64, so I never had the opportunity to play it. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's like, oh, cool. Those of fans of the series is gonna have that game. It looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Again, I will cross that bridge when I get to it.
I have a feeling that one of the major complaints that's going to be made about this game is that it's yet another retelling of the original Star Fox events.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of Gerard, the completionist, actually just recently did an interview with Shigeru Miyamoto and about this same concept, and I'm kind of on his side. I think that this is an okay idea. Star Fox has been out of the radar for so long that I think a reboot is in order.
Oh, yeah.
And it's also this is the first console game we've gotten since console Star Fox game, and I'm talking legitimately in its genre since the Nintendo 64.
Well, no, because there was Star Fox Assault for the GameCube.
Oh yeah, that's right. We had Assault on the GameCube. So, but yeah, again, since the GameCube.
Well, yeah, and from a story perspective, because, again, I'm a huge Star Fox fan. I've played each one.
Yes.
And I can understand why they're starting over, because they kind of shot themselves in the foot story-wise with the storylines at Command. Because, let's face it, again, I'm with a lot of you out there. I hate the fact that they basically left Fox miserable and alone. I mean, yeah, he's a jerk, but you don't have to basically say, oh, he tries again with Crystal, then Crystal runs off to go back to Panther. I mean, come on. So
at that point, we have lots to look forward to. I actually like that Miyamoto actually admitted in that interview that they're going to take a few liberties with the story and tell it in different ways. But it is essentially Star Fox 64, but with a brighter coat of polish.
Yeah, it's more or less a reboot.
So with that, let's go ahead and move on to the next ones, because I really want to keep things going. We also had Rhythm Heaven Mega Mix, which people wanted to know our opinions on. I have no opinion. It's a rhythm game.
Well, yeah, I've played Rhythm Heaven, and I haven't seen the footage, but I know it was a 3DS version that was already out in Japan that people wanted to play. And I like the Rhythm Heaven games. They're really fun, surprisingly simplistic music games, and so that's definitely a title I'm excited to pick up. The Rhythm Heaven games, because it's a good example of game design of taking just a simple concept with the first Rhythm Heaven we got, it was like, oh, you're just literally tapping or sliding on the touchscreen. And they come up with multitudes of different games just using that one mechanic. And with the Rhythm Heaven Fever for the Wii, it was like, oh, you either push the A button or you push the B button. And they come up with multitudes of games based on only those two inputs. It's a lot like Dive Kick in that regard, where there's just so many possibilities with just such simplistic controls.
Yeah. So obviously you're excited for it. I'm not too much. Alex, we actually didn't get your opinions on Star Fox, so I'm going to double-head you on that one. Right. Star Fox and Rhythm Heaven.
Well, I've never played Rhythm Heaven, so I can't really comment on that. Star Fox, yeah, I'm still excited for the Star Fox game. And
is it enough for you to buy a Wii U?
Well, again, I need to know what the deal is with NX before I commit to the Wii U suddenly.
So basically what you're saying is you'll come over to my place to play my Wii U to play Star Fox Zero.
Yes, I will.
Okay.
I love how just quaint you are. You're just like, yes, I will.
Yeah, he's kind of gotten used to it at this point.
I love it.
So, Brinton, do you want to add anything to Rhythm Heaven before we move on?
I'm gonna plead the fifth.
Okay.
With what Alex just said.
All right.
Sorry, that just makes me cringe whenever everyone says, "Oh, I'm gonna plead the fifth." It's like that. I don't want to go into a rant, but just.
We don't have a pillow here. We can't do a rant.
Well, yeah, it's just more people use it incorrectly because they think, oh, it just means I'm not going to say anything, even though the Fifth Amendment just protects you from self-incrimination.
Yes.
So unless you were unless you say stole a bunch of equipment from Nintendo, then
there you go. So the next game,
I'm just kidding.
The next game that we have announced is Monster Hunter Generations. This is coming out to the Nintendo 3DS this summer. We actually did get an announcement for Fire Emblem DLC within it. I already know that Aldo is excited about it because he plays Monster Hunter. I will admit that the trailer that I saw kind of got me excited about it, and I have never played a Monster Hunter game. So I'm excited at least in that regard. But there isn't a whole lot to add aside from it as a Monster Hunter game with a different menagerie set for the featured monsters and all that. So I'm sure there's going to be plenty to talk about when we actually get there. And frankly, Aldo is the one who's like the Monster Hunter freak. So
yeah,
he's who we wanted to talk to about it. So moving on, we also have Hyrule Warriors Legends is getting a season pass. Romney said it all. Romney said it all. So it's getting a season pass, which will also introduce Medley to the game. Medley. Kind of feels like she should have been there by now.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of people think, oh, why Medley? Well, they added Ruto. There's your answer.
Yeah, so the Season Pass will offer all downloadable content packs, including a bonus costume for Ganondorf. And the first of the DLC adds the Wind Waker's Medley to the game. She'll be available as a free download to both the 3DS game as well as Hyrule Warriors on Wii U. Don't go down this road, Nintendo. Don't go. I'm actually getting irritated at so many companies these days going down the season pass route, especially when you look at Electronic Arts, who's literally selling games at $120.
Yeah, I just wonder why they even call it a season pass. It's not like they basically. I mean, what marks the season? Why is it called a season pass? Because what marks the season?
Why?
Makes no sense.
Because Telltale did it. That's why they're doing it. I mean, Brinton, you could probably agree on this.
Yeah, Telltale Games pretty much
they coined it.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty much right. Like, they put out The Walking Dead, and then they put out The Walking Dead Season 2, and rechanged The Walking Dead to The Walking Dead Season 1.
Yeah.
And then there's going to be The Walking Dead Season 3, there's already Game of Thrones Season 2.
Well, they were doing it way before Walking Dead, because when they were doing Sam & Max, those were labeled as seasons. Sam & Max Season 1, Sam & Max Season 2. With different headings for each of them. And then Tales of Monkey Island, when that was first advertised, it was Season 1.
You know, this is kind of why I wish that we had kind of the British model where they didn't call it season, they call it series. Because, I mean, calling it a series pass makes more sense.
That does make a lot more sense. But I don't blame Telltale just because they do. I mean,
theirs is an episodic structure.
Right. So it makes sense for them to call it, by a season with episodes.
Yeah, but with the DLC that EA and Nintendo are doing, it makes no sense.
No, it doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah. It's the EA definition that we have problems with, where you're basically trying to net a $120 game in the process, and it's not just Nintendo. Capcom did it too. I'll get there when I get there.
Capcom, Namco, EA, Ubisoft. The list goes on and on, people.
So
we'll go on and on and on and on.
Not really a whole lot we can add there. Nintendo is bringing SNES games to the Virtual Console on the Nintendo 3DS. So the confirmed titles that we actually have are Pilot Wings, Super Mario World, and F-Zero. They will then follow up on March 24th with Mario Kart, Earthbound, Donkey Kong Country, The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, Super Metroid, Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Conquest. A lot of people had the same reaction that I kind of did, which was, you should have been doing this a while ago. Because you were already doing NES games on the 3DS eShop. I don't know why SNES games were not on there.
Earthbound.
Gee, it's almost like Romney wants something. Maybe I'll listen to him.
Yeah, there's another little something with that I would really, really like too.
There's so many games that should be on there and just aren't. So the next game that we have is Paper Mario Color Splash, launching later this year. I've not been the biggest fan of the Paper Mario games. I don't have a problem with them. I just haven't picked them up in a long time. But I will admit this Wii U game has kind of rekindled my interest, especially like if they put up the previous Paper Mario games on the eShop so that I can play them. Because it's not like I have a functioning Nintendo 64 anymore, people. So I'm at least excited about that one. Anybody have anything to add on Paper Mario?
Not really. I mean,
Okay.
my younger brother was more the fan, and even then he's only played Thousand Year Door, and that's about it.
I'm only interested mainly because this is the closest thing to Mario RPG sequels I'm ever going to get. So
Yeah.
which is
Thanks a lot,
sad.
Square.
Yeah. So the next one, Romney will have some things to talk about, which is Tokyo Mirage Sessions, a.k.a. Shin Megami Tensei Cross Fire Emblem.
It even bothers me that they even Tokyo Mirage Sessions, #FE. I mean...
It's the new name for the Fire Emblem Shin Megami Tensei crossover. I don't know if I necessarily like that concept, but it is coming to the Wii U on June 24th. I'll admit it's got me at least a little interested, and I've played neither series.
As someone who's played both, with each new detail, I've kind of been steadily more put off. I mean, I get they're trying to do something unique and different, but it's kind of veering to the whole too unique and weird to the point where it's like, well, then why is it even a crossover with Fire Emblem in the first place?
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the problem with it. But
And the thing that also really bothers me is it mainly focuses on the characters from Awakening, or at least all the references are references to characters from Awakening, and not the vast history of Fire Emblem. I mean, I understand maybe there's probably more references to the other various worlds and sagas of Fire Emblem in game, but so far it hasn't really won me over.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm at least interested. I'll probably pick it up on June 24th and at least do a review of it. Because from what you were telling me, I don't necessarily need to have all the tons of backstory to either series to be able to understand it. So
yeah,
at the very least, there.
that's one good thing that the Shin Megami Tensei games are known for. Because even when it's part of a main series, you don't necessarily have to have played all the main series ones to understand the most recent ones. Same case with Persona. The only exception to this is Devil Summoner, and even then, that only applies to 2 of the games that one was a direct continuation of the other, and that's it.
Okay. Moving on to the next game here, we have Mario and Sonic at the Rio 2016 Olympic Games.
They're still making those games?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
That was pretty much my thought, they're still making those.
They are, speaking of June 24th. So I'm glad that somebody's going to be excited about that at the very least, because they still get bought.
Are we going to include a scene where Sonic's tour bus gets sabotaged by Mario and isn't able to make it to the soccer game?
Please. Can we just sabotage them both so that we don't have to have this game?
Well, yeah, because that was that whole thing with the Olympics in London, because Team Brazil, for the soccer match, their bus wasn't working and they couldn't make it to the match they were supposed to have with London.
Yeah.
With Team UK. And so I'm just thinking, is Mario or is someone going to sabotage one of their buses so that they miss the soccer event? So the idea of the whole soccer event is you waiting, if you're playing one, is trying to fix the bus, but if you're playing the other team, you're waiting for the other people to arrive.
That would be an interesting twist into the game that probably is not going to exist.
Probably not. Not unless it involves a blue shell.
So,
Desert Bus 2 will be that.
Oh, man.
speaking of Pendulette. So at that point, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. This is the last update that we were able to get our hands on, which was the Mario Maker update. I don't think any of us really play Mario Maker, so at that point, we really can't say too much.
I dabbled with it a little bit. I have a friend who was super excited about it, and he was like, I'm gonna come over and we're gonna play. And I was like, okay, sure.
Yeah,
and
in that
I was,
case,
and I was up till 2 a.m. playing it, and that's about as much as I've done.
Well, at this point, the only thing that we can really announce is there's going to be more customization options, which is not surprising.
Yeah.
We're also going to get a couple more new costumes to unlock, and then also a super expert mode for the 100 Mario Challenge. So at that point, people can be excited about that. But that's roughly the Nintendo Network or the Nintendo Direct news that we have. So yeah, we occasionally have to thumbs up so she knows we're okay.
That
Yeah.
we're good.
So let's go ahead and move on to the entertainment news this week, which if we didn't talk about, then apparently Brinton and Alex would have killed us for.
Yeah.
So first of all, we got to address this concept. Okay. Alex made some statements on Twitter
Oh, jeez.
that eventually got back to me. And so at this point, I'm just going to make a quick addressing of this. Yes, we actually talked about doing a live stream of the Oscars. What Alex didn't mention in his tweet, though, is that he was voted down.
Well, that's the
Because-
problem with the 120 character limit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not holding anything against
I'm
Alex
trying
here.
to
Yeah.
tag the appropriate.
But
people.
I found it funny that basically Brinton apparently and Alex stepped outside their bounds and actually tried to do a live stream of their own. And it wasn't that we didn't want to. It's mainly because we were busy. Like, you were off doing something, I was off doing something, Aldo was busy, so it just wasn't going to work out.
And also on top of that, there's just also the case, I mean, I've gone on record multiple times that I just don't give a damn about the Oscars. The nepotism is just way too rampant in the Academy. I stopped caring when Brave won Best Animated Feature when it really didn't deserve it. And so a lot of people think, oh, are you going to talk about the Oscars? If you ask me personally, I don't care about the Academy whatsoever. Screw them.
Yeah.
I flip off the camera, but I'm not sure if Adam would want to have to censor that or if he would want to deal with
Please
that.
don't. Please don't. Well, and on top of that, they're not worth your time.
Good point.
So we'll probably get. I have a feeling we're going to get into this like a following week because with the Oscar stuff that we were going to talk about, it just kind of crept up on us. We also did want to talk about how they're making changes to the Academy and how Hollywood is kind of reacting to this. So we'll probably get into this a little bit more, but I kind of have the same level of apathy that Romney has, but to a greater extent because. Yes, I've said it numerous times. I really do believe that if we're going to acknowledge the accolades of our fellow actors, or my fellow actors and actresses, then you ought to acknowledge them all. And that's one thing that has bothered me with the Oscars for the longest time, is that there is a heavy bias towards the artsiness. And for all I care, what happens if, say, the artsy film star actually kind of phoned it in, but Chris Pratt did amazing in Guardians of the Galaxy? Who do you hand that accolade to?
Yeah, I mean,
I would say Chris Pratt.
Well, yeah, I mean, and the best case example was The Dark Knight. The only reason it got any Oscar attention was because of the death of Heath Ledger. I mean, a lot of people think, oh, but it was such a good movie. No, it was the death of Heath Ledger that put it on the Academy's radar. And
that
the telecast is very much all about ratings. And so they figured, okay, well, if we don't give the award, we're going to get a lot of flack for it.
And that level of bias actually kind of bothers me in the Academy. And again, I'll get into this when we actually get into that topic because there really isn't a whole lot to add here. That, and I'm sorry, but I was already done with this year's Oscars when Jada Smith and Spike Lee not so much. Spike Lee's been doing that for years. So I'm not going to hold that against him. But Jada Smith goes out and, my husband didn't get a nomination, and I'm going to stay at home.
Yeah, although I do like what Dustin Hoffman said, where he basically just said, I'm just going to watch the Knicks game instead.
Yeah.
And before people comment, yes, I know they didn't mention Abe Vigoda in the In Memoriam thing, because that one was also blowing up. But
we got requests on that. Yes, it sucks. But nothing you could do about it. The Academy did what they did.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just funny how they hastily tried to... What the...
Ugh, someone's dying.
Sounds like my street I live on.
Yeah, but anyway, we know about that, so no, you don't need to send us the whole, they forgot Abe Vigoda. We know.
Yeah, we get it.
And it's like, I know, I don't care.
So we're just going to briefly kind of go over the winners here because we also have another award ceremony to go over. We actually have two others. So we'll go over the major ones, and then really quick, we probably need to talk about this. Yeah, we have apparently a lot of sirens.
We're the bad part of town.
We're the bad podcast.
Not really. But
We're in the heart attack part of town.
First of all, I guess the one thing that people wanted us to talk about was that if there was a movie that kind of stole the show, that had a streak, it was Mad Max.
Yeah.
Even though I don't know why. I mean,
There's always at least
Again,
one
although
movie
it probably
every year
Well,
that steals the show, but it's always like the technical things, because if you look at it,
well, those are literally considered the Geek Awards at this point.
See, but
they literally
everybody
are.
I never understand this, but everybody likes to just write it off. Oh, it's just the tech awards. But can you really deny that the creativity behind film editing? Can you deny the creativity behind production design,
No.
costuming, and
But again, when you
sound
exclude
design?
other movies that maybe deserve it a little bit better, I do remember one, like when I was doing a film class, one year in particular, I felt none of the films actually deserved it, and one other film that should have never got nominated. I can't remember what it was. It was like, it had to have been 2009, 2010, something
Well,
like that.
it's safe to say we all have the movies where we feel, okay, there's a sin of omission here.
Yeah.
You know, that
Well, yeah,
it's safe to say that, you know. What my point is that we kind of write off when a movie might have a sort of a minor sweep like Mad Max. Maybe none of us really, well, Rodney saw it, he didn't really like it.
Aldo
I didn't see
did.
it.
Aldo would probably be the one that defended it.
Yeah,
here.
but it's like, at the same time, okay, but here's the way the ballot box goes, and just like, but don't write it off simply as it's just a technical achievement.
Well, yeah, especially when you consider how during the year Seth MacFarlane hosted, how the VFX guys were played off when they were going up to accept their award for Avengers, and they didn't even get to finish their speech.
No. So at that point, again, this goes into the whole bigger problem. Congrats to the people of Mad Max that they got it, but you know, there were a couple of awards there where it was up next to Star Wars: The Force Awakens, and I think The Force Awakens earned that in that regard. So that's the way it goes.
I would argue against that because with The Force Awakens, yeah, it had some good technical achievements, but Mad Max, I'll give it that, it was more ambitious with its visual effects. So I'm
not happy with either. I mean, frankly, as far as visual effects considered, I'm surprised Age of Ultron never made it, especially with visual effects like Ultron himself. I'm also a little irritated that movies like Jurassic World weren't even considered, because that was still innovation in visual effects, regardless of the fact that, yes, it's dinosaurs. We've seen this who knows how many times at this point.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe with Hardcore Henry in, I think it's like this year or next year coming out, we may, that film I'm definitely excited for, but that's a separate rant for another time.
So, first of all, let's go ahead. So, with that said, let's go ahead and get into the major ones that people like to follow and like to get mad about. Is Best Picture, Spotlight won it. Congratulations to Spotlight. I hadn't seen it.
It's a good film. I enjoyed it when I saw it.
The only movie on this list that I actually saw that was in Best Picture was Bridge of Spies. And so, I'm not saying Bridge of Spies was bad. I just don't know if it was Best Picture material.
Well, yeah,
the one that I saw from Best Picture was The Martian, and I really, really liked it. But up against some of these other ones,
well, yeah, between The Martian and Spotlight, I can kind of see, again, keeping the nepotism of the Academy in mind, I can see why Spotlight would have won out over The Martian, mainly because it strikes more of an emotional chord than, say, The Martian. I mean, yeah, The Martian's about isolation, survival, but Spotlight, it's very much that sense of mystery, uncovering a massive cover-up. It's kind of a satisfying feeling when you're like watching the characters on screen unravel a mystery.
Sure.
And I think that's kind of what edged it out over The Martian in the end.
Well, in my honest opinion, I'm not entirely sure why The Martian was nominated for Best Picture. Like, I mean,
probably because it was Ridley Scott. That's probably why.
Yeah.
Directed by Ridley Scott.
Honestly, oh my Lanta! Because again, I saw it and I thought it was good. I left the theater and I was like, that was really, really good.
I'm sorry. We need to go with the actual terminology for Ridley Scott, which Alex coined, which is ranty old man.
Well, yeah, that's the weird thing, because like he alternates between releasing a really good movie and a really bad movie. I mean, you had Prometheus and The Counselor, but then you get stuff like The Martian.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, to conclude what I was trying to say was, you know, I liked it. I did like The Martian, but compared to what I've seen nominated for Best Picture in years past, I don't understand other than it being directed by him.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's still just, oh my gosh.
The next couple of nominations I'm going to pair up together, because they usually are paired up in the presentation of it. So Best Actor and Best Supporting Actor. So let's go ahead and go with the lesser here, according to them, which is Mark Rylance for Bridge of Spies. Great, congratulations! I'm trying to remember who he played. Was it the FBI guy?
No, he was the spy they were accused of. The one.
Oh,
Tom
that's right.
The one Tom Hanks was defending.
Yeah, I agree with that notion. He did a really good job in it, and I think we even said as much, didn't we? When we
reviewed it. We really liked his performance.
And here's the one that people actually wanted comments on, which is, I'm going to pair these together and then we can talk about it. It's so great that Best Actor has become a participation trophy because Leo DiCaprio after 6 years, finally got his award. And I'd actually like to dare make an argument here. Did he actually earn the award, or was it because the Academy was sick and tired of seeing his name?
Well,
Probably a mix of both, actually.
Probably. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up to the panel here. Mark Rylance and Leonardo DiCaprio. Do you think they deserve their awards? Do you think they didn't deserve their awards? And I'm just being a jerk.
Well, I haven't seen Bridge of Spies, so in the case of DiCaprio, I mean, again, people know Adam's not a big fan of DiCaprio, and in my case, he's a good actor. He can act. But the problem is that we all know what he looks like. He never disappears into a role.
Nope.
It's the same problem with Brad Pitt, except the difference between him and Brad Pitt is that Leo can actually act, whereas Brad Pitt, and not to so much.
Well, Brad's problem is, like, he can disappear into a role, but the problem is that he's always a pretty boy of some kind.
Or the wise old man, or the wise Amish man.
Yeah, and it's just like, basically it's like the old studio things where it's like, Humphrey Bogart came into the studio and just said, well, I kind of want to play a pirate today. No. You don't understand, Humphrey. We need you to play Humphrey Bogart. That's what happens with Brad Pitt these days. It's like, no, we need you to be Brad Pitt.
Yeah, of course the big difference, that's mainly with the stuff that Brad Pitt himself is producing. And again, I got nothing against Leo. He is a good actor, but I just have a hard time seeing him really disappear into...
Contrary to what people think, I don't have a problem with him either. I just don't think he's lived up to the potential that he has.
Well, yeah, and what makes this really apparent, the fact that he can't disappear into a role, is having him act across Tom frickin' Hardy, an actor who always disappears into his role because he's an intense method actor.
Yeah.
And that just makes it all the more apparent.
Here's the major problem that at least I have. When your supporting actor is doing a better job, like, and this is most of the case of like the Leo movies I've seen, when the supporting actors are doing a better job of actually becoming their roles than you are, that's a problem. And the examples that I will give right off the bat, Tom Hanks is really the only reason I remember Catch Me If You Can. And the other example that I can make, I remember... I can't even believe I'm making this joke. I remember John Malkovich more in Man in the Iron Mask than I do Leo DiCaprio. I remember... I can't even believe I just said that, because Jeremy Irons, too, was in that movie. Or even better, like, crap, I just barely lost it. But that's my problem, is that he goes on, he is the pretty boy, and then he leaves it at that. I'm sorry, Alex, I can already see you, like, stirring in your chair, but that's kind of my issue on the matter. If he, like, I've already resolved to do this. When The Revenant comes out, I will watch it to see if maybe...
Keep in mind, on DVD, that's the thing we want to make clear.
Yeah, when it comes out on DVD or streaming, I will watch it. And if he deserves it, I will come on and I will eat crow. Okay? But if it's the exact same issue that I have with his other roles, and by the way, I was thinking of Kathy Bates and all of the other... Dude, Billy freaking Zane was more into his role than Leo was in Titanic.
Yeah.
So...
I mean, and a lot of think, oh, but what about his performance in What's Eating Gilbert Grape? But that's the thing. The big thing was that back then, Leo was an unknown. He was known just for being in TV roles. Yeah. But now... It basically, because of Titanic, he was billed as a heartthrob. We all know what he looks like now, and so it's hard to really see him disappear into any character. Again, I've seen him act. I've liked some of the performances he made, even in films I don't really like. I mean, he did a really good job as Jay Gatsby. I think he did a good job in The Revenant, but it's the same problem. You don't see the character, you just see Leo.
And like I said, if he did better, I will be more than happy enough to eat crow. I just don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, and in my case, I haven't seen enough of the other nominations to really give any comment, so that's why I'm not really saying all that much, aside from my problems with Leo.
Truth be told, like, a lot of the other best actors, I might want to give that over to Bryan Cranston, but... Michael Fassbender for a movie that bombed. No, I really don't want to do that.
Oh, yeah, I haven't seen the
Matt Damon. No, just because, like, unlike Leo DiCaprio, I actually hate Matt Damon with a freaking passion.
Well, yeah, and I haven't seen The Danish Girl because I know that was the big one. That was what a lot of people consider the big upset was Eddie Redmayne for The Danish Girl. But again, haven't seen it. It's not for lack of trying, mind you. It's just, well, I've been busy during the time that a lot of these films came out. So The Revenant was the only awards contender that Revenant and Spotlight are like the only awards films I saw all of 2015.
So,
Yeah.
Brenton and Alex, your thoughts on Mark Rylance and Leonardo DiCaprio without physically trying to hurt us?
No, I think you both make valid points. Unfortunately, I never saw Bridge of Spies as much as I really, really wanted to, and I didn't really have a whole lot of interest in Revenant. I saw the trailers for it. I heard tons of people saying, "Oh, it's amazing, Leo," but still, it wasn't enough for me to run with it and to spend the money to go watch it in the theaters.
Yeah.
So I mean, if it were to be put on Netflix or something, then yeah, I would go ahead and watch it. But so I can't really speak in terms of Leo. Congratulations to him, but I don't really have any more comments besides this.
Okay.
There's nothing I can say.
For Mark Rylance, I think I probably made all my comments that I could back in our Bridge of Spies review.
Yeah,
I think
he
he's
did a really good
fantastic
job.
in the movie. He's a great supporting actor. He probably even does kind of outshine Tom Hanks a little in that movie,
Which is hard to
probably
do. Tom's pretty dang good.
Probably why Tom didn't really get the nomination this year. I thought he would have gotten it.
Tom
but
has gotten 10 different nominations. I think he's okay with it.
probably. Tom's fine. Tom's okay. I have not seen The Revenant either yet. That'll definitely do something. I do really kind of like Leo DiCaprio. Maybe he is a bit of a standout because he is a very recognizable person just in the looks department alone.
Yeah.
And it could be also my old soft spot for the movie Titanic, which I still love that movie to death. I know it's got problems, but I love it. But I feel Leo probably put his heart into it. I want to believe he put his heart into it, and he gave it his all, and that he probably does earn this award finally. It takes 6 years of a lot of different kinds of roles, a lot of trial and error, a lot of experimentation.
Yep.
Yeah. When you guys see The Revenant, be prepared. It is a long movie. And that was one of my criticisms I gave to it, is that, there's such thing as a long movie, but then there's movies that feel long. And that's the big difference. It's long, but it felt long. And that's the problem.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and move on into the actress category here. So we have Brie Larson of Room for Best Actress, and then Best Actress in a Supporting Role, we had Alicia Vikander for The Danish Girl. I don't know either of these people, so I can't comment on either.
I didn't see either film.
I can't say much either.
Looking at the list right here, I know Jennifer Lawrence, I know Kate Winslet, and that's about it. Everybody, Kate Blanchett, but the rest I can't attest for. So, congratulations to you guys. I hope you guys deserved it. I really do.
Yeah, I've heard good things about Room.
I heard really good things about The Danish Girl. That was one that really stood out to me that I really want to see right now.
Yeah.
So when that happens, I don't know, but it will.
The last thing that we're going to cover in the Oscars is the Best Animated Feature, which obviously went in the direction that Romney thought it would.
Take a shot.
We all thought it would, really.
Yeah, which is Inside Out.
Take a shot.
It's nothing against Inside Out. Inside Out is awesome, but at the same time, it is the yearly Pixar film.
It's either Pixar or Disney, basically, that gets these awards.
So it's nothing against Inside Out, but when you pair it up with others that probably deserved it just as much as Inside Out, that's the stickler for it.
This is where...
one of the problems here is that this is just one animation category, and really there should be numerous.
And this is certainly where the fan in me is torn, me being... who I loved Inside Out. I thought it was a wonderful movie, and I have not yet seen When Marnie Was There. I really do want to see it myself. But,
Likewise.
Studio Ghibli, you've got to expect quality.
Yeah, but at the same time, definitely not one of Ghibli's best per se, and I'm not sure if that's because of just the film itself or the strength of the source material. But really, again, it highlights the issue I have with that category, with the Oscars, especially some of the comments people have made about the animation category when they're asked to vote on it. And that's why I don't care about the Oscars, people, because again, the nepotism is just that rampant. It's either going to something produced by Harvey Weinstein or Disney.
Yeah. So with that, let's go ahead and get into the Razzies, because this is usually the one that people want covered right alongside the Oscars. And I don't really have a whole lot to say aside from, well, there were definitely two films that the Razzies hated this year, and those were 50 Shades of Grey and Fantastic Four.
Yep.
Because
what a shocker!
50 Shades got six winners.
Six. I think so.
Mm-hmm.
6.
The only thing that that caught my eye was the fact that Kaylee Cuoco got it for 2 films for Worst Actress. And I like Kaylee Cuoco because I like Big Bang Theory, so I don't have normally a big problem with her. But I also didn't know that she was part of those crappy Alvin and the Chipmunks movies. So
You learn a lot. Like, you go on IMDb and you look at like your favorite actors and actresses, and all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, you were on that?
Yeah. Well, again, a lot of people tend to think, oh, acting is all about being famous, but it is work. You take what you can to get the money coming in. I mean, there's the classic anecdote from the first Salt Lake Comic-Con that a friend of mine recorded that was at a Kevin Sorbo panel where he basically asked Michael Caine, oh, well, why did you do Jaws 4? And he's just like, I don't remember Jaws 4. I just remember the house it bought me.
yeah. So, I mean...
Good.
Now, that's not my best Michael Caine impersonation. That's just the best I can do.
Michael Caine is not the easiest actor to be able to portray.
Especially when you sound
that's
more
the
like Hugh
thing.
Jackman.
Well, that's the problem,
you are
is that
sounding
my
like
Michael
Bugsy.
Caine is based extremely on the Dark Knight trilogy, and therefore I don't have it.
Well, the last time I tried to do Michael Caine, it ended up going more like Southern or Cajun.
Yes,
so-
Yes, it did. I'm not even going to attempt
Which,
it.
in fairness,
So-
he did play sort of a Southern gentleman in Secondhand Lions, but
So that's pretty much the Razzies coverage. Is they hated 50 Shades of Grey this year, and they also hated the Josh Trank Fantastic Four. But so surprise, so did I.
Yeah.
So
I didn't even bother to see it because it just did not look that good.
I didn't
so-
bother to see it either. I was like, I'm not going to waste money on this.
Exactly.
So at
Consider
this
yourself
point,
lucky.
I hate to do this, Alex. We might actually have to cover the Annies next week.
That's fine.
So that we can give them the proper attention.
proper
that they
diligence.
deserve.
Yeah, it's fine because we're kind of pressed for time.
We're pressed for time
so-
at the moment. So I
don't-
actually want to get into The Boy and the Beast, and we'll probably go a little bit over, but I think we'll be okay.
I do want to say, I feel that it's very fitting because we're talking about a new Mamoru Hosoda film. Here's a bit of a trivia fact because we're in a Denny's, and well, when Mamoru Hosoda was preparing for Summer Wars, well, he made all those storyboards for that movie sitting in a Denny's, working like 8-hour shifts every day.
I didn't know that.
It's a great piece of trivia.
So,
How fitting.
kind of like the Ninja Turtles review that we did, we're not going to go into the spoiler territory.
And no, there's not going to be a poetry one this time.
No,
We
there's
do
not
not
gonna
have
be a
that kind of
poetry
time.
Just because Romney needed to work that out, and he didn't. But we're going to definitely go into like the best and worst moments of the film. I just kind of want to go over really briefly like what our thoughts were about the film. So I'll admit I have not seen a whole lot of Mamoru Hosoda. You've introduced me to Summer Wars. I had seen the Digimon movie, which I believe he was part of that, right?
Yeah.
It was his style. And then there's also Wolf Children and a couple of others that I hadn't seen, and then I saw this one. I will say that I really like this film, especially with the messages that it tried to convey. It's probably the best Hosoda film that I've seen thus far, but then again, I haven't completely finished Summer Wars, so we'll see if that changes. But I have a feeling that I'm still at least going to get this for my daughter, because it was that good, as far as I'm concerned. Brinton, your thoughts on Boy and the Beast?
Again, I'm going to reiterate what you just said. I haven't seen a whole lot from him as well, but I did find myself enjoying this movie quite a lot.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to be able to purchase it and rewatch it again.
Yeah.
I thought it was extremely charming. It did lack in some areas. It's not like every movie is gonna have, the whole thing's gonna be awesome every single moment. And I did like the message it was trying to convey as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I'm just kind of copying what you just said, but
Pretty much it.
yeah, I really, really, really enjoyed it.
Alex, your thoughts on The Boy and the Beast? And it sounds to me like you have the most to say on the matter.
Yeah, I enjoyed the film. I really did. Would I put this as Hosoda's strongest film? Maybe not quite, but it might take a few more viewings for me to get a full.
But then again, you're the
grasp
one who has
of it.
seen all of them.
In fairness, not all of them, but his most
good chunk.
his most popular films, because I haven't seen his One Piece work or some of his TV work. But I have seen. Yeah, I've seen a good chunk of his work, and in terms of this movie, where you had Wolf Children a couple of years ago, which was very much about motherhood, this one's sort of changing the direction to being about fatherhood, which is also fitting because he himself is now a new father. He just had his son born. And I really liked that parallel here, seeing that parallel between both children, between his own life as now being a new father, between everything in this movie. It's a good movie. It's a beautiful movie. It's well animated. The cinematography is really great also. There's some amazing shots, some great POV shots too. Just some of the running shots are great. And lot of great fight scenes, a lot of good music. I really enjoyed this film. I'm so glad I got to come out and watch it tonight.
Okay. Romney, your thoughts on The Boy and the Beast?
Well, I'm going to more or less read off my notes so that way I'm not like ranting the whole time. I thought the visuals were strong. I liked the characters developed. To kind of give an idea, this is the first film by this animation director that I've ever seen. I have not seen Wolf Children, haven't seen Summer Wars. The Digimon stuff is like a faint memory, so I'm not sure if I can count that. But the visuals were strong. I thought the characters were really well developed and were strong. I did have a few problems with some of the imagery and some of the philosophy they were trying to convey. Some of that did seem a little bit iffy. There were some visual choices that didn't quite make sense to me. And I mean, I'm trying to really hard not to mention spoilers, but let's just say there's certain literary references that I just didn't quite get why they made them. I mean, I understand they were trying to go for like a man versus nature thing, but there are, in my opinion, there are just better books that they could have referenced that would have been a stronger parallel with the story we saw.
Can I just bring this up really quick? I found it really funny that given the themes that this movie was doing, that the trailers that we got were The Jungle Book and Legend of Tarzan.
Yeah.
Gosh. I mean, like, when we saw Attack on Titan, we got, like, legitimate Funimation trailers.
Well, yeah, but I think the big difference is that with Attack on Titan, that was like a Fathom event screening, whereas this was being treated as a regular film showing. Granted, it's being only showing for 2 days here in Utah, but it was being treated as a regular film showing with regular trailers. And I'm pretty sure there's some arrangement between Funimation and other companies that because especially if they're trying to push to have anime films shown more regularly here in theaters in the United States, which is why they keep saying, hey, go see these films, show that there's a demand. And so it makes sense that we got kind of those trailers because it's basically, it's like a typical release. And I'm guessing they just get a slot of trailers that they just show before almost every movie.
Yeah, but I just found it interesting that when we were dealing with kind of a man versus nature kind of argument, that we got 2 trailers that were man versus nature kind of arguments.
Although Tarzan's not really man versus nature per se. That's more like man versus self, but that's a whole separate thing. But yeah, there was some literary references and some of the philosophy they tried to convey that I found a little bit iffy. And I would definitely describe this film as an epic, but the way they kind of had the story keep going to try to build up to kind of the final moments, it felt kind of like they kept writing themselves into a corner and thinking, I've reached this strong, dramatic beat. How do I keep the story going to fill out the runtime? I mean, there is a little bit of illusion at the beginning that sets things up, but then that one plot twist that we all saw, that I felt like that just kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I kind of had that feeling too.
Again, it was alluded to really well, but it just felt kind of, okay. It kind of has the problem that shonen manga tend to have, where they have to suddenly come up with a new villain, a new obstacle for the main character to overcome after they've overcome.
Can I just ask, was it Sasuke that we're talking about here?
More or less. But that's what it felt like. It felt like I was watching almost like an adaptation of a long-running manga series condensed down. And it suffered the problems that, he's defeated this big obstacle that was like the big buildup. We need to come with something even bigger and badder for him to deal with.
And, this is, as far as Hosoda's films goes, like his first solo writing project. His other big movies, he's had a co-screenwriter with him. I kind of thinking maybe that's a bit of the case where the story plots maybe didn't come together quite as nicely without his writing
Can I just
partner.
tell the story really quick? So you and me were actually making this joke in the movie where we saw the character. I'm not going to say who it is, but there is a character that very much looks like another emo character that I have a problem with. And so I actually looked over and I'm like, so Sasuke? And Alice is like, yeah, that's who it is. And then finally later on we kind of get an illusion that maybe it's a girl, so I'm like, okay, so she's gay. And he's like, no, I think it's a guy. Okay, so Sasuke. Because that's who this is. I mean, I don't want to say it that way, but man, it's just it's a character that's a walking bag of emo.
And I mean, I did like how they try to kind of make it think, he's being friendly at first, but then slowly turns. And even then, the turn also feels like it came out of nowhere. Again, kind of the whole idea. I like using the shonen manga as an example because that's what this felt like. It felt like we were seeing an adaptation of a shonen manga that had the problems of power creep throughout the entire series.
Exactly.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
So let me go ahead and direct this a little bit more. So I just kind of want to go down the table a little bit and go into the best moments, at least for you, of this film. The moment that actually caught you and kept you interested throughout the whole thing. I would actually dare say my favorite scene probably was the moment where Kyunta? Is that how they say the name?
Yeah, I thought it was like Kyuta/Ren because for
Kyuta.
some reason they gave the character two
Where
names.
he basically starts copying. What was the guy's name? I can't remember. Kumatetsu. He starts mimicking Kumatetsu to learn from him, and I love the fact that Kumatetsu is getting annoyed until the monk describes it to him. He's like, no, he's like literally imitating you like a baby would a father. And I'm a new dad, so obviously that tugged at heart zones a little bit, and I got to have this great training montage that just made me love it. So that's my best moment of the film. Brenton, your best moment of The Boy and the Beast.
I think one of my favorite moment, I think I'm gonna kind of go with like two because they kind of work together, and it is like that montage that you were just talking about where he is learning from one of the main characters, because I don't want to try to pronounce his name, but then when he happens to go back to the world that he is used to and he's starting to learn the ways of being a human again with that one girl.
Yeah, that was another good moment.
Yeah, so I just love that how he's like learning and growing in a sense spiritually, but then he comes back and he gains more knowledge, and you just see, like, I don't know, I just sat there and I was just like, man, I pick up things pretty quick myself and I'm a fast learner, but not like that. And it kind of made me jealous a little bit because I want to be able to be like that even more too. And I don't know, I just like it was just kind of like the message for me that it was conveying was just, there's so much to learn and there's so much potential in your own life that you can grow to become.
Yeah, and it very much points out the whole, like, the actual wanting to learn as opposed to the forced to learn, as seen with his interactions with other teenagers, that it doesn't go so well because you got the people who are forced to learn the stuff, and then you have someone who actually wants to learn more.
Yeah.
And that pretty much is what sets the clear difference for him from other people.
Exactly.
Alex, your favorite moment of Boy and the Beast?
Well, I hate to, but I'm going to have to parrot you already again. It is definitely the whole training sequences. I think all the training sequences combined really make fantastic little montages. It's just essentially one after another, especially when he does start to mimic his mentor, and he does it so subtly, sort of subtly anyway, but he's trying to keep it low key. He's trying to not make it look obvious, but he's doing it, and he does pick up on it, and to that point when he is already mimicking the moves without even seeing them, he can just hear the footsteps.
Yeah, that was actually a cool moment where he was cutting potatoes, and all of a sudden he noticed that he was imitating him, but he wasn't looking at him. That was actually really cool and a pivotal moment in his
growth,
his development. I will also admit that I found it funny that when he started his training, he's like, "How old are you, kid?" He shows on his fingers how many. And when they get to the point of pivotal training, he's like, "Well, how old are you now?" And he's still using fingers. I like that concept. Stephen Romney, your favorite moment of Boy and the Beast?
Well, aside from the ones you guys have mentioned, a lot of the character growth, I like the interaction between Kumatetsu and Kyuta/Ren.
Yeah.
It's one of those movies, people, where the main character has two names. But
yes,
the other moments that really stood out to me is kind of the big payoff for those big moments. And it's hard to not spoil anything, but they're kind of the two main climaxes that we see. One in the world of in
Jugentai.
And so there's that first climax where you see kind of the whole pivotal thing of kind of where the relationship has kind of evolved. The whole that it's not just clear master apprentice like the other, like his rival, where it's very much a symbiotic relationship where they both help each other. And a lot of people think, oh, well, they bicker all the time, but then you just see that that's kind of what helps like pay off in the end. But then you have the other big climax, which really don't want to spoil, but I thought it was really, really awesome because you just have that big, basically to give you a clue, it's that big final slash. I thought that was like a really cool, really awesome moment where it just is this huge, again, it's pretty much, it's like, I mean, we all have like those moments in a shonen series like Dragon Ball or One Piece where we think, oh, he's about to beat the big bad, and it's like the really best, awesome way to beat the big bad. I mean, you've got you have moments like Gohan doing the double Kamehameha wave along with the ghost of his dad to destroy Cell. You've got Luffy, off the top of my head, I'm trying to think. I'm not that familiar with One Piece.
I'll tell you, like, right here and now, the first thing that came to my mind when that happened was, like, Kenshin.
Yeah,
all the clashes in that series.
Well, yeah, especially when you look at, like, the fight between him and Kenshin and Janae or Kenshin and Saito. Mm-hmm. A lot of those... I really like that moment because, again, it's kind of that nostalgia in me, like, that feeling of, like, oh, yeah, this is, like, this is, like, a really badass moment that builds on all of this emotional buildup we've had throughout the entire film, and it's just... really just, it was awesome. It was epic. It was amazing.
Yeah, exactly. So with bests also comes worsts. We're going to go down the line again. If there was a part in the movie that actually just ripped you out of it, that made you really question why it was in the film, that's what I'm considering like a worst moment. It ripped you out of the immersion of the film. And I would actually dare say that aside from the pivotal slash at the end, that whole arc actually felt so out of place.
Especially with the literary allusions, which I already mentioned. That's my thing, is the choice of literature they chose to reference of all the books. I mean, I understand kind of the idea, but if that had more of a build-up at the very beginning instead of it being kind of tacked on.
If that had been like Ren's parents' favorite book or something like that. Yeah, like there had been build up to it.
Or even if there was just like a specific focus of vengeance that was established at the beginning of the film. I mean, some people think, oh, but what about his father? But even then, you don't really see that because he's not really the target of his ire, nor or his extended family. It's just the typical lashing out. But the book they chose, again, without giving it away, it is very much a book that's about how pointless revenge really is. That's kind of the whole point of it, and about how nature is just utterly indifferent to man. And so I'm just thinking, why that book to serve as the reference point? Why not a bunch of the other books that would have referenced? I mean, granted that not everything has like a big epic animal that pretty much symbolizes it, but it's like there are just other books out there, both Western and Japanese, that would have served as a much stronger parallel to the story we've been told.
Yeah. Brenton, your worst moment of The Boy and the Beast.
I'm gonna have to agree with you guys with what you're talking about. That just like that last little bit there. For some reason, I should have guessed that was going to happen with how much they were alluding to, but still, it just kind of like crept up on you, and it felt extremely out of place. I mean, there definitely were like small itsy bitsy moments within that last bit that I liked. Especially like before that big slash. I mean, it kind of brought me to tears a little bit, but still, it was just kind of, it was just kind of like,
this doesn't really feel
in
place.
Yeah, it doesn't feel in place. Again, I understand why it was needed in there because we get the growth from the mentor and where he got to his growth, and now we need to see it from Kyuta Ren, double name, Now we got to see it for him as well, so it makes sense. But I felt like they could have done something differently, and they didn't, which is fine, I guess.
Alex, your worst moment of The Boy and the Beast.
Okay, well, maybe this is going along with what you guys are also saying, but it is sort of the sort of running subplot of the revenge idea with the specific character. I don't know how much I can spoil here. And mostly because, well, I'm somebody who, in writing, really loves looking at parallel stories. I love seeing when you have two characters that are parallel with each other. One kind of goes down one side, the other goes down another path, and you see if things had just been a little bit different, how they would have converged, and how they split. And I could see they were trying to get at that with this film, but you're kind of right. There's not enough build-up and there's not enough payoff to it.
Yeah, with a parallel story like that, you really need to have them both following. And there were points where we absolutely forgot about this other person.
You really need that. You need that good build-up, and you need a lot of foreshadowing for it to work well. And excuse me, and it just didn't. And it was kind of lacking in this film that it almost does kind of feel like it's suddenly out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one thing I definitely got to add that one thing that did not help with some of that imagery, I was getting some very serious Phantom Pain flashbacks.
Oh my gosh.
So getting into that, Romney, your worst moment.
Well, I already mentioned those.
Oh yeah, that's right. So, and then another moment that I'm actually just going to throw in here, because this movie had a lot of it, and it feels almost a crying shame not to admit it. The silliest moment of this film. And mine is actually like the silliest, but also kind of the douchiest. And Alex knows what I'm talking about. I actually got frustrated whenever the Lord Rabbit ever showed up on screen. I actually I he would do the whole I am godlike and bouncing around the area, and I actually leaned over to Alex. I said, "So it is possible to douche away," because this guy did. Because like every time, like he would come in, he'd bounce back and forth, and then he'd just immediately do the whole Batman thing, and just I can't think of a way of saying aside from saying like puffing away or douching away. He was just being a douche. So that's kind of my silliest moment. Brenton, your silliest moment of Boy and the Beast.
Oh man, he just kind of he threw that one out there really quick. Silliest moment.
How about Goku and slightly taller Krillin?
Oh yeah, those two were.
I again leaned over to Alex, and as soon as the Goku character came up, there's a monkey character that has Goku's hairstyle, and I actually looked over at Alex and there's a monkey with Goku's hairstyle.
And for fun trivia here, it's kind of fitting that there's kind of a slightly Goku Krillin lookalike. I mean, this director did work at Toei for a while.
Yeah. But I just remember leaning over to you going, it's a monkey with Goku's haircut.
Well, I even picked up on kind of the journey to the West sort of vibe during what there's that journey that they're supposed to take, which I think probably could have gotten a little more attention than it did. But again, it's that shonen manga problem where it feels like parts of a much larger story that we're not seeing. And it gave me a very much a journey to the West sort of vibe, where you had Monkey, Pigsy, and then the idea would be you had like the remaining four, but that just left me wondering, well then, which one's Trippy Taka?
Exactly. So what was yours, Brenton?
You know, I don't think there is a definitive moment that I can say that was like silly for me. To be completely honest, that's my answer.
Okay. Alex, silliest moment in Boy and the Beast.
Well, it definitely has to be the whole they keep running around in a circle chasing each other.
Yeah. That moment, like, even though it ran for a while there, it was enjoyable.
Yeah.
Each and every time they ran around. Even just from the monkey and the pig point of view, because they're like caught in the middle, and every time you think it's going to end, then it loops around again. It's like,
that is a good part. It makes me sit there, and it made me think to myself, I really want to have some sort of relationship with somebody like that. just something absolutely crazy, and then it makes me think of, oh well, I know you guys, and then there's my best friend that I've known for like 11 years. So I was like, I'm good. I'm good in that department.
Romney, your silliest moment in Boy and the Beast.
Well, it's kind of tied one between the whole when he's all grown up and he was like, oh, how old are you now? And he's just like...
Yeah, I love that moment, right?
I can't even remember, like...
It was like
he did it so fast.
Yeah, like that's one, and then
like 27 or something like that.
And again, the other one was the eggs. That's like the other one that comes to
Oh,
mind.
yes.
Which...
The eggs.
Well, yeah, I mean...
Are you talking about the whole scene, or like when he actually is eating the eggs?
A little bit of both, because... Like the whole idea, because I know that is a way some people do eat eggs over rice, but that only really works if the rice is like piping hot and it cooks the egg and you stir it in.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was also a little bit silly, but that's very much in second to the however many he did.
That was so awesome when it happened. It was like, and it was like 27.
No, I think he did 17 because it was 17, so it was like
something like that. So yeah, that's the final thing that we're going to actually do on the Boy and the Beast here is kind of our last recommendations. Overall, like if you have a score that you would like to give it, go ahead and give so. Otherwise, would you recommend the Boy and the Beast to like friends and family or anything like that, would you recommend that they see it in the theater, or would you recommend that they see it strictly on DVD kind of thing? I would recommend this wholeheartedly to any animation enthusiast. I think that they will get at least something out of it. My score for it is, I'd probably give this thing a solid B kind of thing. It was a good popcorn flick. It was a good story for kids to be able to enjoy as well as adults. So I would probably go with that. Would I recommend that they see it in the theaters? I don't think this is going to be in the theaters aside from this limited release.
Yeah, I think like tomorrow.
But if it was,
like the
then
last
yes,
day.
I would recommend this be something you take your kids to.
I think tomorrow's like the last day, except for like one theater. I think might still be showing it, but only for 1 week.
Yeah, Brenton, your score for The Boy and the Beast, and would you recommend this to friends and family and whatnot?
I would give it, I would say either a 7 or an 8. Maybe, leaning a little bit more towards 7. And I definitely would recommend it.
So you'd be in the kind of the BC range. I'd give it a solid 8 on that one, because that's like B range for me.
Yeah, exactly. At this point, especially since this is going to go up after the fact, so I would say it's most likely going to be put onto a DVD or Blu-ray. I would probably look out for it. Go to your friendly Best Buy or Walmart to go pick it up. I really, really did like it.
It's definitely my daughter's birthday present, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I would try to introduce to my family. This type of genre is primarily what I like the most out of my family members. So for them, they would kind of just be, I wouldn't want to use the word tortured, but it's not something that they would readily want to watch. But it would be something more I would show to my friends who love Hayao Miyazaki. We watched his films and a lot of other Japanese animation endlessly when we were freshmen in college. So anyway, yes, please go see it or buy it. It's wonderful.
Alex, your final score and recommendation.
All right, well, I am going to score it, even though I normally don't do that on my own videos, but I'm here on Geek News, so I'm going to do it. And I'm going to give this film a solid B. Very good movie. Keep in mind, if you're going to take kids to it, it is a little on the violent side. It's not terribly over-the-top violent, so I don't think kids will have too much of a problem with it. But I definitely wholeheartedly recommend it. Recommend it for any Hosada fan out there. It's still a good movie. Maybe not one of his strongest, but still a very good movie nonetheless. Yeah. If you can catch it in the theaters, that's amazing. I know, but these are obviously very limited screenings. But as soon as it comes to DVD or Blu-ray, pick it up. It's worth it.
Yep. Romney, your recommendation for this one?
Well, first off, I judge things on a different scale from these gentlemen.
Out of 5.
I'm going to start with kind of the recommendation. Aside from the usual, if you're a fan of Osada's works, if you're an anime fan, if you're an animation enthusiast, you'll enjoy it. But I see this film as also a very good gateway film. If you're trying to get someone into anime, this film is a good gateway film, a good film to kind of introduce them to anime. Kind of on the same level as something like Princess Mononoke, where there's someone that has equal balance of action, some humor, some philosophy, where it's kind of got a nice blend of everything. Yeah. I would definitely call this a good gateway film. Yeah. And so that's another recommendation I would add on there. So aside from if you're an anime fan, if you're a fan of Osada, if you're an animation enthusiast, if you're someone who either wants to get into anime or if you have someone who you're trying to introduce to anime, this is a good gateway film. Yep. And as for my score, like I mentioned, some of the philosophy was iffy, some of the imagery was iffy, some of the literary allusions I kind of had a problem with. So I'm going to give this a 4.5 out of 5.
All right.
Okay.
Now, again, it's only a 0.5 because I still really enjoyed the film. And the things that bothered me didn't take me out of the experience, but I did notice them. Because that's kind of how my scale works, is how invested am I in the film by the end of it. It didn't completely take me out of it. It was just something in the back of my mind. I'm just thinking, I probably shouldn't have played the Phantom Pain.
Yeah. Yet you did. No.
Well, I don't know about you guys. I got a little Spirited Away vibes out of it too.
Yeah, I was actually going to bring that up because Spirited Away could also be kind of a gateway anime, and this had a lot of elements from Spirited Away.
It's definitely interesting because I saw this after immediately seeing Zootopia, so it was like two films that both deal with anthropomorphic animals.
Yeah.
And so my brain has been kind of it's almost like my brain was trying to reconcile okay, is there a way these two could exist in the same universe? I mean, granted, no, just no, for the sake of no. But it's definitely interesting because it also points out a difference in just two different anthropomorphization styles. Because you've got something like Disney, where they still look mostly animal, but are basically wearing clothes and walk around like people. Then the beasts in this film look more human, but have some animal traits. It's very much a reverse of Disney's overall anthropomorphization aesthetic. And that's actually a pretty good frame of comparison because I got to see like two different styles at work there, and it works with the various moods. I mean, with Disney, well, it's a Disney movie, and so they have their set way. But here, since it's pretty much also part martial arts movie, philosophy movie, that style, especially since it dealt with a lot of philosophy, it also worked in that style. Although one of the masters they visited, I kind of got a very serious, like, oh, they should have gotten Frank Oz because he looks exactly like Yoda.
So that's going to go ahead and do it for this episode of Geek News, as well as the review of The Boy and the Beast. So we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. If people want to get a hold of you, Romney, how do they do so?
Well, you can always find me on YouTube at youtube.com/StudioGhostUtah. You can also find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Romney'sReviews, no apostrophe, and I'm also on Twitter at Romney Reviews. And sorry, but I don't have any recommendations for Romney's Reading Club this week because I don't have a book with me.
That's all right. Alex the Shadow Blazer, how do people get a hold of you?
Well, of course, you can find me on YouTube. Shadow Blizzard 3000 is my YouTube channel name, and of course, mostly I do anime reviews, and I do the occasional Let's Play here and there. And of course, you can find me on various social media platforms. You can find me at Twitter, at AlexJShort is my handle. You can find me on Facebook if you look up the name Alex Short, and you can find me probably at a few dozen anime sites around, like myanimelist.net or Anime Planet, or just anywhere. Just find me, you probably can find me somewhere.
Okay.
Redundant, I'm sorry. It's late.
Yes, it is. Brenton, how do people get a hold of you?
You can get a hold of me through my YouTube channel, which is just my first and last name, Brenton Volley, spelled BRINTONVALLI. It's kind of different. Not going to apologize for that. I could also be found on Twitter at bvolley01. I am currently, I'm about to finish a Let's Play on Bayonetta, and alongside it I have started a new series on Firewatch, which I'm absolutely loving. As of when we're recording this, the first part went up. When this actually goes up, part 2 will be out. So go ahead and check it out because I really love that game. And I'm just gonna toot my own horn. My commentary is flawless.
All right. Well, now you have to watch it now, don't you? So since Aldo isn't here, and again, we actually really, we give him crap, but we missed him for this review because I have a feeling he would have brought a lot of insight to this, especially since, again, Alex and Aldo were the ones that recommended The Boy and the Beast that we try and get us into a screening. So if people want to get a hold of Aldo, you can follow him on Twitter, which is @BoardThresh, where you can get his latest news, his latest thoughts on recent anime and video game antics, or even cons, because he covers those too. You can also go to his YouTube channel, Board Offline, where he does reviews. He does pretty much everything at this point. It's really hard to kind of narrow down what Aldo does, but he does con reports, he does game reviews, and he also does some commentary with anime. He does lots of stuff, let's just be honest here. And you can also check out all the other stuff that he contributes to on YouTube, including Reviews versus the World. I actually don't know what the most recent review went up, but if people want to go into a classic Aldo one, go into his review of, I believe it was Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, because that's a good video from him. In the meantime, though, if people want to get a hold of me, you can do so at my YouTube channel, which is at Drak2326. It's where Geek News is hosted, and it's where we go live each weekend, Saturday nights from 10 p.m. to midnight Mountain Standard Time. You can also follow me on Twitter at Drak2326, and you'll get my opinions on the latest Nintendo Direct. I recently put up some thoughts on my viewpoints towards Street Fighter V. Spoiler, it's not good. So you can follow me there. If you want to follow the show directly, there are 3 ways to do it. One is geekyweek@gmail.com. That's where you can leave your stories, your feedback on the stories that we did cover, and all that other various stuff. You can also go to our Twitter and follow that, which is at geekynro, and you'll get up-to-the-minute information when we're going live, or whether or not we're going live at all, as with this review. And you can also go to Facebook and look up Geek News, Reviews, and Opinions and like it. And again, you'll get up-to-the-minute information. We also will put up the stories to see what you guys think and get kind of a poll of what you guys thought of Ronda Rousey wanting to be in a Metroid film. And then there's also actually a 4th one, now that I think about it, because we just recently had a new revelation to the podcast. We are now on Podomatic. So you guys can go to geekyweek.podomatic.com. I believe that's the address for it. And right now, we don't have the entire archive up for 2016 just yet. I don't know if we're going to go further back than that, but we'll see what we can do. But we will have the most recent episode up, hopefully in the next day or two, to Podomatic, so you guys can get that via an RSS feed. So you guys can look forward to that too, and please give us a subscribe and a follow on Podomatic if you are members, just to kind of keep the Geek News train going, because we like to hear from you guys. But in the meantime, that's going to go ahead and do it for us. So for me, for Brinton, for Alex, and for Omni, and also for Aldo, we'll see you guys next time for the next group review, but also for the next Geek News episode. And boy, oh boy, I'm just going to spoil this now. Our next group review has been 2 years in the making.
Yes. We'll finally see the answer to the court case.
We will. To the Supreme Court case.
I wouldn't go that far.
I don't know. Batman v Superman goes a long way.
Well, I mean, unless one of them was really dragging their heels, kicking it up all the way, which, well, then again, Bruce might do that. I'm not sure about Clark. I mean, on a reporter's salary, I'm not sure he could do that.
I don't know. Zack Snyder could whine hard enough.
Yeah,
But
maybe.
we'll find out.
Well, yeah.
And we'll also figure out whether or not they actually did put in that scene when Wonder Woman eats his cheeseburger.
Because cheeseburgers are good for the soul.
Because they're good for the soul.
Woo!